So Rhinomed is we're a nasal technology business. We have a nasal technology platform, which if you come past the stand, you can try it yourself. In essence, what we do is we're trying to change the way the world breathes with our platform. And really what we focus on to start with is people with nasal obstruction. 1 in 4 people have some form of nasal obstruction. It'll be a deviated septum, might be due to a broken nose, some form of allergy. And this is a real impediment to good sleep, an impediment to good breathing and respiration. And that's what we really focus on. And if your nose looks like this, then you should definitely come and see us. And what we've done is developed a stent. In effect, it's a stent just like a heart valve stent, a little bit of plastic like that goes in the nose and opens it up. And what we do is leverage Passeul's law. And Passeul's law says that if you increase the diameter of a vessel by 1, you increase the volume that travels through that vessel by the power of 4. And that's exactly what we can do with our stent. In fact, in this diagram here, which is from an acoustic rhinometry, you can see the impact of the stent here and how it dilates the upper airway. And that's critically important because the more air we can get into the upper airway, the better it is for a whole range of different conditions. The first one we're tackling, though, is something that's probably close to the hearts of many people, and that's just simple primary snoring. And primary snoring is something that about half the population do. It's a sad thing, as you get older, you're more likely to snore. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, you're more likely to snore as you get older. And we have a product called Mute, which is we launched 2.5 years ago, got into boots, and more recently it just won an award in the States for excellence in the drugstore category, which is great news. It just got awarded last week. It's retailed for about £14 here in the UK. Pleasingly, as you can see, since we started the business, our revenue has been growing very nicely. This is all off its installed store base of 2,800 stores globally, so not a large store base. But pleasingly, we've been growing that even rapidly in the last 6 months. As you can see, if we break down on a quarter-by-quarter basis over the last calendar year, you can see that on all the metrics, be it units shipped, which is here, stock invoice, deferred revenue, or cash received, it's all been heading in an orderly direction, which as investors, you'd certainly want to see. Store growth, pleasingly, has been something that we've been working very focused very much so in the last 12 months. And as you can see in 2017, we increased significantly. And that was due to the fact that Walgreens in the US took us on. We'd previously done a trial. In October of last year, we increased our store count to 4,300. And we're currently talking about expanding our store count even further with Walgreens and talking about expanding our store count in the US to include CVS, Rite Aid, Walmart, Target, and so on. So our target store count for this year, by the end of the calendar year, we're planning on getting close to doubling our existing store count. And as a result, we would expect to see our revenues grow accordingly. This is what we started our store count in the US at the start of this time last year, 2017. And by this time this year, this is the number of stores we're now in. So as you can see, the product is now appealing to the buyers of these stores purely because it works and it delivers them high margins. So in the US, this is about a $20 product. Our average wholesale price globally is around 10 to 11. So in effect, if you think about the comparator is the Breathe Right strips that goes over the nose. The retailer, to find 1 Mute customer to make the same money, has to find 3 Breathe Right customers. So from a retail perspective, it's a high margin, high volume product. And that's very important to us as a company because, as I said, we see this as a platform technology. So I'm going to briefly touch on the different applications. The first application is targeting the decongestion market. You'd all be familiar with Vicks. Everyone's used Vicks. And if you think about the decongestion market, not much has happened ever since. You can stick that little white bullet up your nose and inhale, but not much has happened. What we've done is developed a formulation which is a combination of menthol and eucalypt, which we're putting onto the device. So if you think about a low-dose, long-release menthol eucalypt, so you wake up not feeling congested. So overnight decongestion. We also have a version of the technology, a formulation which has got designed for sleep onset to help you get to sleep. And that's got a lavender, chamomile, formulation on it. Once again, these are very simple applications, but extend the platform in a new way. The really exciting thing for us, though, is the sleep apnea market. Obstructive sleep apnea is a huge market. It's about a $30 to $40 billion market globally. And at the moment, it's dominated by the CPAP mask, which you're probably familiar with, and the oral device, which is like a mouth guard that keeps the jaw forward, stops it falling back. We believe that, well, 70% of people who suffer from obstructive sleep apnea suffer from mild to moderate sleep apnea. And that means they have an AHI, or apnea-hypopnea index, of below 15. Theoretically, they probably don't need to be on CPAP, but there's no alternative. So what we've developed is a version of our technology which has got a one-way valve system in it. So it stents the nose, you breathe more air in, but when you go to exhale, it partially shuts and creates back pressure, in effect, in your upper airway. And we call this expiratory positive air pressure. So we recently conducted a phase 1 trial and showed we could reduce apnea-hypopnea in this patient group. And that's very exciting because, in effect, what we're doing is developing a therapy for the 70% of people with mild to moderate sleep apnea, and it looks just like that, exactly like our existing technology. So if you compare that to a mask or an oral device, we're talking light years in terms of compliance and adherence. More importantly, we're also comparing, in terms of price, a CPAP machine will cost you around $5,000, or £3,500. We're talking a sub £100 solution. So once again, this is the opportunity to revolutionise the sleep apnea industry. And the reason why we're doing our consumer health space is it de-risks it. We socialise people with the concept in a consumer health setting before moving into the clinical area. Finally, the other area which we're very excited about is in drug delivery. And the reason being is very simple. If you think about a lot of drugs, they're either an injection, a tablet, a patch, but actually the nose is a fantastic site to deliver medication. Why? Highly vascularized, lots of blood vessels there. And if you can put a drug onto this, what we can do is open up a brand new window of drug delivery, simply because low dose, long onset. If somebody's wearing this overnight, say if you've got a chronic pain, we can actually deliver a medication overnight, which would be fantastic. And some of the drugs that we're looking at the moment, cannabinoids for pain relief. Medical cannabis is a growing market, particularly in the US. The trouble with medical cannabis, and this is a general comment on that market, is it's a generic. So the price has been set by the bloke out in the lane, not in the pharmacy. So the trouble for the medical cannabis industry is how do you develop a patented, value-added delivery mechanism? And that's what we have with this. Our patents extend out to 2035. So over the last couple of years, we've been very focused on heads down, bum up, to use the Australian expression, and delivering on some key milestones. We've got a platform since we've started 5 years ago, 2 of which we've brought to market already, and an exciting platform that extended out. We've got an IP portfolio of over 60 patents that cover not just this product, but a whole range of others. Everything, as I touched on, from different scents, i.e. fragrances we can put on it, to drugs, even to putting sensors on it to measure things. So we truly see it as a technology platform. We also have 57 design patents that cover the look and feel, because we know that people are able to work around. So we're very conscious of protecting our IP. We're leveraging existing research. So we're not just covering new ground, we're actually leveraging existing research that's been around for a while that points out the importance of the nose. This is a true scalable opportunity. So even though we're in about 800 boot stores, our total universe of stores that we're able to go into is 30 to 50,000 plus globally. So we're a long way from actually total penetration. Our revenue lines are growing nicely. Our costs are under control. Our gross margins on the mute product alone are in the 70 to 80% level. So it's like once we get volumes, this thing has the potential to throw off cash in a nice way. And more importantly, we think that vitally important to any technology is developing consumer health brands that appeal to consumers. So it doesn't matter whether it's a medication or it's a consumer product, it has to appeal, and hence we focus very much on making sure our brands are actually branded technology and branded in a way that is truly appealing. Who is Rhinomed? We're an Australian listed company on the ASX. If you go to II, you can actually buy Australian shares, so it's possible, about £20 per transaction. So our market cap is currently about $15 million. We're bloody cheap in my mind, but of course the CEO would say that. We've got our chair is Ron Dewhurst, used to run JP Morgan's asset management business in America, ran Glegg Mason globally. Our other non-executive director is Brent Scrimshaw. He ran Nike in Europe for 6 years, ran Nike on the east coast of America for about another 8 years prior to that. And Dr. Eric Knight is the Pro Vice Chancellor of Sydney University. As I touched on, we did financial, last year we have a June 30 financial year. We did about 2 million revenues. As I said, that was on a 2,800 store base. We're up over 8,000 stores already, so we expect revenues to follow. We've got 3 million cash in bank. The top 20, pleasingly, which includes Jim Mellon, is now controlling 47% of the company, so they've got a nice register, but with enough free float and volume there to actually allow investors to get in. So on that basis, and considering I've got 13 seconds, and I don't believe the rugby score has changed, any questions? If not, I invite you to come up to the booth upstairs and do what Victor Kayam used to do. I liked it so much I bought the company. So come upstairs, try mute for yourself, and let us know what you think. Thank you so much for your time.